Hey everyone, how's it going? A wonderful Monday, capping off the week, and kind of technically, no, not really, but we're doing another. I changed the Kaiju Roundtable instead of Creator Circle. I think it just rolls off the tongue better. But given the fact that it's Monday and Mondays suck for everyone, it may just be me on for the stream. We'll kind of see what happens. Was good, Goji65. Good to see you on here. But yeah, we'll just sort of see how things go. It's going to be probably a mixture of me going over some writing videos that I did find that might have some interesting things to talk about in relation to the topic, which is human characters, and me also doing some art stuff as well. So we'll start off with some writing stuff, get everyone acclimated before I get into the videos. But I'm happy to see that we do got some people on stream joining us. And yeah, if you've got any questions for me, feel free to ask them. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have for me or things you'd want me answered in terms of writing. Yes, it's the Brandine. Hello. So I just realized that is the image. I thought that was a Sekiro image for a second. But if you guys are probably wondering also about how the workflow goes, as it were, this is essentially how it goes. It's just clicking a bunch of reference images, and then from there, sort of kind of seeing where something goes. I'm here. Well, good to have you, my good man, Jarvara Productions. Nice to see you on here. You don't look familiar, so in that case, welcome. I'm happy to have you on here listening to us. But yeah, no, fire away questions. And if anyone can see, definitely what I'm working on is retro, very, very, very retro, Megalosaur inspired. As well as also a thing I think about too when it comes to anything art related. It's having either too much or too little reference, because sometimes you'll click a bunch of images and you're like, oh, I'll probably use all of them, but then that ends up not being the case. But at least what I grabbed here, I'm pretty happy with what it was I did end up with. And I just realized I'm using the wrong brush. There it is. Oh. Okay, cool. Unfortunately, I won't be here for long, but it's cool seeing where people make their own kaiju. Yes, I mean, that's kind of the whole thing on my channel, or at least what I do art-wise as well on other places like Instagram and the like, is making my own kaiju and sort of seeing what other people can make, or at least talking about what other people can make. But I guess since I am the only person here at the moment, I can sort of give my thoughts as to where it concerns human characters in monster stories. So when we think about human characters, especially as monster fans, the biggest concern I think a lot of people have is not wanting to have their humans be superfluous background characters who either can't really do anything or sit out the end of a movie in preparation for whatever monster fight they're trying to do. And I think at least when it comes to story ideas where you have multiple monsters, a lot of people are going to want to focus primarily on your monsters fighting and who's going to be like the big bad. That might be sort of where everyone's mind is, when I think the focus would definitely be on the thematic elements of your story and sort of what is the conclusion of your story. And if your conclusion has to be a monster fight, then there probably should be something thematically relevant to your story as to why like a monster fight has to take place, because you don't necessarily have to have your big monster fight be the super huge climax of your story. Hello there, my boy. I can't stay for too long, but I just came to say hey. Well, I mean, hey, thank you. If you guys aren't staying for too long, I guess like thank you for showing up first off, and I was just say the second off is just doing the like, because you know how everything does be here with the algorithms and how much the algorithm tends to screw everyone over. I'm kind of done with the destruction. Yeah, I'm kind of done with the issue of the destruction of the world. I think, like, when we're talking about the ideas where it concerns the world being destroyed, that is a very large macro problem. But because very few people are going to commit to actually destroying the world, it almost is like never going to happen. Like, you keep a lot of creators will like bait the idea like, oh, the entire world's going to be destroyed if this and this doesn't happen. And some of the Godzilla movies are guilty of this, and I think that what's important is focusing on something that actually could possibly be achieved, and even if it's not achieved, the consequences of which could still be something that the characters have to deal with the fallout of. Like, for example, I'd say one good example of this probably would be Godzilla versus Biollante, at least if we're just talking about Godzilla movies or kaiju movies. The fact that ultimately Biollante was created is somewhat more of a micro problem versus the macro problem of Godzilla returning, but then it becomes a macro problem as Biollante becomes its own monster, and then is later on we find out that it can't really be killed, although technically Biollante leaves of their own accord. So that is solved in its own way. But another one I would say is sort of the ending of Tokyo SOS, where we see that there is more DNA of other monsters being put into storage, and there is that fear that that kind of power is going to be misused again. And as a result, although the idea of respecting the dead is important and sort of burying the past, it doesn't tie everything up in like a perfect perfect bow, and ultimately, there needs to be people watching out so that abuses do not occur again, because something like that did cause obviously Godzilla to return in the case of Mechagodzilla, but clearly messing around with kaiju is just never the right thing, especially in a story. But I guess that also can lead to ideas where concerns how what a monster is going to look like. Of course, like, we all like how monsters are designed, but I think a lot of people think of when they think theme, they also think the monster needs to tie directly into that theme. We see that a lot, especially with the Godzilla community, because Godzilla is able to display really well how it ties into the theme, but that doesn't necessarily need to be the case. You can make a monster that looks very nice, but isn't necessarily thematically resonant. It can work, yes, but that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. You can make your monster look almost however you want, but as long as you do something that's, at least if the writing is relevant for the human characters, that's what's important. That's technically trying to found, but most life kill mechanic for the mention that Mars was completely destroyed. I think that's interesting, but what like needs to be considered is that like I don't really have too much reference with what it is you're referring to, because of course you're saying the Mars is destroyed, but like, did Mars have a colony on it? Is it just that it's destroyed because we destroyed a planet, or was there like, what is the significance of the celestial object being destroyed? Because with people, we can understand if something is like bad, but like, if you don't really give someone something tangible that they can hold on to, they're going to get very much disconnected from the work and the stakes you establish. Question: does the link work on mobile? Yes, it does work on mobile. Your audio may just come out kind of funky, but yeah, the audio should still work on mobile. And I'm not alone. The 98 to my, I guess, 99 in this case is here. It is Zavik. How's it going?
Hello.
Shalom, shalom, my friend. And then hello to you, Space Godzilla 2004, the Morning Star Dragon. I'm seeing a lot of new faces in here. That's nice to see. How all you new folks doing? And of course, how are you doing, Vic?
I'm doing good. Just got back from work.
Yep, that do be how it is. That do be how it is. Thank God I do not have work for 2 days, and then it's straight five. Well, yeah, no, straight 5 days of work after. But that's how it be sometimes. But in the
hmm
sphere, how have you been working on things?
For what was it?
In the like, just have you been the when it comes to creating kaiju stuff? Have you been?
Just continuing to work on stuff. I have a few original kaiju in development and like some other characters
Hmm.
that I'm working on, and also
Gotcha.
touching up the drafts of some of the stories with them.
That's good. That's good. Um, was that one of the? Was that something you were working on? Because I just got a notification that you posted something to I think the chat or either to me specifically.
Oh yeah, those were some of the drawings of some characters that I had whipped up. Because I know you were
Okay.
doing like the human stuff, and so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
drew some
Okay.
of them.
I will actually. Is there anything? Yeah, I'll just do them as all three different pictures, and then I'll be able to switch between all of them right there. Perfect. Hello there. Good to see you, Sea Monsters Essays. And there we go. Okay. I was just gonna. I was wants to do it like that. Okay. So I'll just do one right after the other then. In that case,
All
if it
right.
wants to do it like that. So you can explain your characters and also female characters too. No, like it's not that it's not done. It's just that usually everyone does a male character. Nothing wrong with that, of course. But explain. Give us your spiel.
Yeah. So with that, yeah, so far most of my stories are typically female centered, or at least like have a female protagonist in them. That's just like I don't know what I like to write most of the time. I think something similar with the director of like the Kiryu Saga said like something. I just like writing female characters because I like female characters. Um, but for this one, this is one from my story with Pocho, my
Hmm.
like main Godzilla-esque kaiju that I use. This is from a story with that. Her name's Sarah. She is in the story. She's coming back home from college, like her first year of college, and she's been very anxious about how her life is starting to change, um, which is something that I can relate to because having like graduated high school 2020 and like doing college for a little bit, um, things in my life started to change. So I want to incorporate that um, into it. So she's coming back home, but she also she hopes to find comfort by seeing like her hometown and her family, but she also finds that things there have changed as well. So she has to try to find like some ways to de-stress and stuff. And then on top of it, her town gets invaded by like kaiju forces, and she has to deal with that. But she is a very outgoing person. She has a tomboy personality. She likes natures and the outdoors, which is how she comes to find Pocho in the story. To where it's sort of like an ET situation where she finds this creature and befriends it and forms this bond with it. Um, and then through that and the characters, she sort of like learns to deal with change and how to overcome it.
Awesome, awesome. And are these all from like the same story you're working on, or are they
Uh,
all from different short stories that like?
they're from the same universe
Okay,
essentially. And then this one
gotcha.
here is from another story. Her name's Charlie, and this specific version of her is like something that comes later down the line after the first encounters with like these creatures that are popping up in another small rural town. And she is like a very headstrong, caring person, very extroverted. She's a dancer, and so her with her friends and her partner, they have to deal with sort of a this big creature that kind of works in like a Godzilla 98 kind of way where it's like a pack animal that reproduces asexually, and they have to like deal with how they're affecting the townsfolk and the people around them.
Oh, interesting. Would you say that like are they all the same sense where all the same universe in that they just share the universe or are these characters like crossing over with each other?
So far, in the moment, it's all just the same universe. Like I have like I want to try to write out like an anthology type of series where all
Mm,
these things are in the same universe, and down the line they might connect. At least, especially the kaiju will definitely connect, um, and the monsters and stuff. But for now, the characters so far are like part of their own stories. Like this one deals with something. Both of them actually deal with kaiju coming into like a small town and how they
mhm,
affect that people. These two stories happen, I would say, around the same time. Um, this one's a smaller scale story, essentially dealing with like a smaller kaiju threat. So I think I would have this happen before the previous story. But they both
mhm.
deal with like how these kaiju affect people and stuff like that.
Gotcha, gotcha. And then our last lovely lady of the hour, it looks
Hmm.
like.
Yeah, this is a Dorian here. She is a field biologist. She's going to be one of the center focuses of like the overall universe and stuff. To where she's like taking the lead on like investigating the kaiju with her team. She's a very stubborn and focused individual. She's like very a go-getter type. She values truth and honesty because she wants to find out the mystery of like the world and how these creatures came to be. Um, uh, I haven't written out the story yet, but I have the concept for it, where
Mhm.
she like investigates like the legend. In my universe, I'm gonna have a kaiju that's sort of based on the Yeti, um, and so it's gonna be like starts to investigate these rumors that a creature monster is destroying the villages near the mountains, and so she's gonna go there to find out what it is.
Mm. Since she's sort of like a biologist, and I know you're love of 98, would you say she's like similar to Nick in temperament, or she's similar more to a different character in terms of like how she is in terms of behavior?
I sort of want to base her more off Elsie from both the movie and the series, to where she's a
Hmm.
little more focused and like very interested in like her field and stuff like that.
Like very career focused, essentially.
Hmm.
Um, and when it comes to like human writing, where would you say like your biggest influence comes from outside of like kaiju writing?
Uh, Outside of kaiju writing, I'd say it mostly just taking from my life because growing up, I was very close to my friends, and we always like did everything together. Uh, like we were still part of that generation that still went out. Like because I live close to the river, all of my friends like we live close by to the river, so we would always go out there and like build tree houses and like you know look for animals and stuff. So that's where some of the influence comes there. And with
Hmm.
regards to media in general, like some of my favorite movies, like across the board, are always like ensemble films where you have like a group of people dealing with whatever situations come their way. And so I want like to write stories about like people interacting and like their different dynamics and stuff like that.
Like essentially using your characters to like bounce off one another in that
Yeah,
sense.
yeah, those are my
Hmm.
favorite kinds of like writings when it comes to stories and movies.
Yeah, like you're not a huge fan of like of like a main protagonist, essentially.
Yeah, sometimes I do like to like some of my stories do kind of focus on one character, but they still bounce off and work with the others around them. Um, like
Hmm.
uh, like I still want to have like interactions with others.
Gotcha, gotcha.
Hmm.
No, that's fair. As well as also coming into the back chat as well. We got Eric Zilla. How's it going, my friend?
Yeah, we're good, man.
No, it's going, it's going. But
Yeah,
I would say,
yeah, man.
actually, um,
Yeah.
obviously you've got your own stuff too. What would you say when it comes to writing human characters in a monster story?
Um, Usually when writing a human story, it's like human aspects to a monster story. I would say in a way, like I can't exactly pinpoint a story like a human story where in which I've kind of like made like it was like a huge impact kind of thing.
Hmm.
But I will say that I mean if it's all right with you guys, I kind of want to talk about like a certain human story that I kind of revamped it.
Hmm.
So so this is in regards to a little comic series of called Exodus, which is a angelic monster and stuff like that. Um, so I plan on doing a revamp story about it, and like the story behind certain characters in the comic itself is like kind of they're pretty different from how it was from the original comic that I made and all that. Um, and like in this one, it has more of like I guess impact on the characters like experiences around them and all that. Um, when it comes to writing human characters, and at least in this situation, is to give a character kind of likability factor, like a character
Hmm.
that you would kind of want to relate
Mhm.
to, or because of the character's act. Um, and for the character, the main character of the comic is a character named Javier,
Gotcha.
who is basically, at a young age, his dad was like an archaeologist, and where which he kind of was studying a certain scroll of ancient ruins, which is where obviously Exodus comes in. There's like a deeper because it goes way in deep depth into it, but essentially it's just that. That's all I can
Hmm.
say. But
Gotcha.
so
Actually,
this uh-huh.
besides this, I really want you to go back to it. Between you two, I would like you guys to talk a little bit about how like writing human characters in relation to Ultraman, because obviously since you're a bigger Ultra fan than us, um, it would be cool to see like whether you think it's easier to do a kaiju story with like Ultraman in them because they're obviously having human hosts and they can interact with the cast more. And while you guys do that, I actually have to bounce out because I realize there's a fire outside my house. So
Ooh,
I'm gonna be
Oh,
right back, guys. So I'm gonna go check that. Eric, you're in charge.
all right.
all right.
All right. I hope everything's fine over there.
Mhm.
Um, so Godzilla, Ultraman human stories are.
Mhm.
I would say that they're pretty much they're almost in par. I would say with the Godzilla stories, but like when it comes to Ultraman stories, it has more to do with like family. It has more to do with like relationships of like others and all that. While like
Mhm.
Godzilla, like for example, Godzilla's human cast, there are some where it's like they have a goal. They want to try to achieve a certain goal. I forgot the character's name in Godzilla X Mechagodzilla, but she, obviously has a goal in mind. She's trying to, become better than what others think of, what view her.
Mhm.
Um, and for Ultraman, like it has that similarities, but at the same time, it has like you really like feel the struggles of the character. Like for example, there's a film called Ultraman the Next. The Ultraman the
Mhm.
Next deals with like the whole concept of like of an alien taking like having like the ability to transform into this giant alien, but like the thing is that the character, he has the struggles of it. Like he doesn't like it's some like it like he feels the pain of this alien, which is Ultraman, and he ends up having to deal with that struggle. And not only that, but he also has a son who is sick. So like severely sick. So like he has that to think about. And so
Hmm.
like there are times where it's like you feel his struggles constantly, and having to deal with another entity, which is like which is basically like similar to him, where in which he has the ability not to turn to Ultraman, but into a kaiju. And this kaiju is obviously a basically an homage to Bemila, which is a monster from the original 66 Ultraman. Um, it has a lot of like human aspects with that. Um, but at the same time, it's like like again, they're like it's the same thing. Like I mentioned, Godzilla and Ultraman have similarities, but at the same time, like the later Ultraman shows, I would say they have more to do with like what it means to be a person, to
Yeah.
be your own individuality, not trying to be like someone else or trying to do this or that, trying to better yourself, trying to achieve the impossible. That is what human characters are in in like Ultraman shows nowadays. They all have that kind of storytelling ability of like the
Yeah.
human characters and all that. And you really do like there are moments where you really do feel Godzilla and all that and everything like
Hmm.
that. But yeah, when it comes to Ultraman though, there's a lot of good aspects with human characters. A lot of really like, and then there's some cases where it's like some of the individual characters of like certain teams, because like obviously there's always an organization like fighting off the monsters alongside Ultraman.
Yeah.
So like there are some cases, there are some episodes where it's like you get to get an in depth with the other human characters of the team and all that. You get to know them well, and yeah, I would say that when it comes to storytelling, Ultraman really does do well a lot. Not to say that Godzilla doesn't do well either, but Ultraman has a lot of storytelling when it comes to human characters that is like something you don't really see a whole lot in other Toku shows.
Yeah. Yeah. Because what I've seen of Ultraman, like you always have to have like a team, and Ultraman I think might be a little more human focused than I guess most Godzilla movies. Not that there
Hmm.
aren't like other Godzilla movies or shows that involve a team of people, but because
Hmm.
you always have one of them who becomes like the superhero kaiju to fight the threats. Like you sort of have to involve them a little more. And like there's no like I think there's less room to have the excuse of like, oh, bland human characters. Like some Godzilla movies like do, or at least that's what people say for some of them. But like you always have your characters, like I was saying earlier, like I like stories that have like ensemble casts, and you get a lot of that with more Ultraman stories, I think, than you do like
Yes.
with Godzilla as a whole.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a lot to like when it comes to the human aspects of Ultraman shows and certain episodes and all that. And but yeah, it's freaking yeah, it's good. It's really good when you get around to it. There's a lot of good stuff to it.
Yeah.
What? Mm-hmm. And then man, let me tell you though, when it comes to the human storylines in Kamen Rider,
Mm.
now I'm aware now. I don't know. I mean, are you familiar with Kamen Rider?
Mm. I'm familiar with it, but I haven't really sat down to watch any like shows or movies.
Dude, the human stories in Kamen Rider are fucking. They could be insane, depressing, and just like I don't know really how to explain it. It has a lot. It's a lot darker. It's a lot darker. Believe it. Like even during its Showa era, it had some of its darker moments and some of the storylines of like the human characters. Like I'll give you an
Hmm.
example of one that I'm pretty sure some people have like have probably seen or not. But there is one episode of a Kamen Rider show called Kamen Rider Kuga, and there is this kaijin that his whole gimmick is literally torturing his victims to the point of them literally offing themselves.
Mm.
Yeah, and the character himself, the person that transforms to Kuga, has a deep connect. Has like he cares a lot. He wants to save lives. He wants to protect the good people, and he constantly would like miss the opportunity to capture this Kaijin, and until it reaches to the point where he got the Kaijin at its sights, and he starts engaging like a brutal like chase, like just like a chase scene going on, and they start just going off on each other. Kuga mainly, Kamen Rider Kuga going off on him, and like at the same time, it's like you get to see like his feelings of like of the flashing like faces of all these victims from what this Kaijin did to the freaking to the everyone, to all the people. And like now, and like the thing is, like the reason why I bring that up is because of the character that turns into Kuga, of his caring nature and how he wants to try to protect the people. But at the same time, it's like there are moments where it's like you can't save everyone. It's kind of
Yeah.
like the similarity to Spider-Man, like you can't
Mhm.
save everyone, and that's what happened in this situation, where in which a certain threat literally going off, literally torturing those to the point that they want to end like their suffering by offing themselves and all that.
Mhm.
And
I'm back.
oh my
Dead.
goodness, I was about to go. I was going into a dark place,
Oh
but at
no,
the
I
same
was
time,
listening
we were
to it.
really. At the same time, it was yeah, it was yeah. But anyway, the point is though,
What's it
Kamen
called?
Rider has some.
As much as I
Uh huh.
want you to continue this,
Uh
I'm actually calling from my mobile. Literally, that fire destroyed a transformer, so there's no power in my house right now.
oh
Ooh.
wow,
Yeah.
damn.
Um,
Um,
yeah. So that the fire is like pretty big, but hopefully it's
is it
yeah,
getting taken care of or?
yeah, it's getting taken care of. But unfortunately, I'm not sure how long I'm gonna be here without any power. So I'm gonna end the stream, and I will probably plan for tomorrow, more than likely. In this case,
Mm,
but because I'm just gonna try to conserve all the battery life on like all my devices. So
all right,
in
that's
this
fair then.
case, I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry for everyone who would be listening tonight. Y'all have a good night. I should be fine. It's just probably we're gonna be out of power for a little bit, so I'll see what I can do. In the meantime, y'all have a great evening. So rip,
Mm.
Rip indeed.
rip indeed. But yeah, at least when I have internet again on my computer, I'll probably do a fun little thumbnail to replace the round table I did have for this. So
Indeed.
y'all have a good night. You know where to find us, and hopefully we can fix this. But y'all have a good night.